A proud Bryan, Ohio resident of 48 years, Dave Swanson wanted to give back to the city that has been so good to him. He decided to purchase and restore an 1870s building that stands prominently downtown. As a successful businessman and retired owner of the Davlin Company, he had the financial means to preserve the beauty of this historic building and bring it back to life. Adaptive reuse in architecture is a sustainable design strategy that repurposes existing buildings for new uses while preserving their historical and architectural significance. Dave Swanson prioritized maintaining the heritage and integrity of this downtown landmark. Our team of architects, engineers, and construction partners worked together to update the building to current codes and reinforce its structural integrity, transforming the vacant structure into functional new spaces. Adaptive reuse projects can convert unused buildings into offices, apartments, restaurants, retail, and other commercial establishments. In this case, we are implementing all of these new functions.
The community always likes to know how many jobs you're creating. We plan to create some more jobs with what we're doing. As far as my plans for the space, I'm a dreamer, always been a dreamer. So the second floor, I plan to live over the store, so to speak. So JDI has designed a beautiful apartment for me that we are beginning to go to work on. And in addition to the apartment on the second floor, there will be a couple of office spaces and a conference room and so forth that we plan to use as offices for Sazerac and some of the other businesses that we plan to start. The third floor is this beautiful, iconic space with these 5 wonderful windows that look out on the courthouse. So my dream is to eventually, and eventually means a couple of years, turn this into one of the most beautiful event spaces in Northwest Ohio.
The building Dave purchased is one of the most iconic and oldest in downtown Bryan, and in its prime, it was one of the finest. The building stands 3 stories tall and 3 storefront bays wide, standing slightly taller than its neighboring structures. After 3 previous owners, Mr. Swanson is possibly the first person to own the entire building in the last 100 years. Originally, the building housed retail shops on the street-level floor, offices and apartments on the second floor, and a community hall on the third floor. Dave's vision for revitalizing the building included a restaurant and a bar on the first floor. The inclusion of the restaurant required the 3-story building be fully fire sprinklered to comply with the Ohio Building Code, just one of the challenges faced during the design phases.
Well, first, history. The building was built around 1870, so it's over 150 years old. Over that amount of time, there's a certain amount of wear and tear that takes place. And then the masonry walls, with the way the building's built, it's 3 storefronts wide, and typically, like in the late 1800s, early 1900s, when you have a 3 storefront wide property, the masonry walls are continuous from the foundation all the way to the roof. In this building, they weren't that way, which creates some issues with regard to structural and bearing points and all for carrying loads. Given that our construction type, which is called 3B, it's masonry bearing walls and wood structure, we're allowed with an assembly use, with a restaurant use, which is called A2, we're allowed to build a 2-story building or 3 stories if you're fire sprinklered. Well, we weren't fire sprinklered, but we are already a 3-story building. That restaurant required us to be fire suppressed, first floor, second floor, third floor. So we ended up being able to get a variance and just do a fire alarm system for the second and third floor until construction happens there. But that being said, we still had to bring a 6-inch water line in from the street and have a fire pump. In today's building code, we're required to have so many air changes per hour for depending on the use of the space. So we need a fair amount of ductwork to supply air and to recirculate air through the space. Electrically, today this building is served by a single-phase electrical service. We're going to be adding an elevator in the next phase. Elevators require 3-phase electrical service, so this building will be getting a new electrical service.
For the most part, the building is constructed like a typical downtown building. with brick bearing walls and wood joist flooring systems. Due to the wood construction, the buildings are typically divided into 20-foot wide sections. The first 2 floors are divided as such. However, the third story was not divided. It was designed to be one 65-foot wide space. To accommodate the wider space, 5.5-foot deep wooden trusses were constructed to span the whole 65 feet. The trusses are very unique. I've never seen any trusses like this before in my 25-year career.
Phase 3 is when we start getting into renovating the second floor. So we need to establish a safe stair and elevator tower to safely exit the building. Well, I'd like to think that, the history of the building, the fact that it was built 150 years ago, that 7 generations who have come through this building since the very beginning. And also it kind of intertwined with, a local building owner, being a business owner from this area, Bryan, contractors being from here. It just feels like a very wonderful local project.
Well, when you get to be my age, you start thinking about your legacy in life. So I guess in some ways, this is a legacy project for me. Every small town needs help. They need investment. And this just happened to be a beautiful space, a beautiful building, and it seemed worthy of investment. And if it turns into a legacy, that's wonderful. My dream would be to see this as a vibrant economic center over here on the north side of the square, with people coming to events, people eating, people having a drink after work, people staying in a hotel. One of the most interesting parts of this whole project, in working with companies like JDI, is learning to trust. They have every discipline that you need to do a project like this: HVAC, sprinkling, design, architectural. And JDI has been very good at saying, Dave, your preconceived notion is maybe not the best, but we have another idea. And inevitably, I've found that the other ideas are exciting, good, better. So I've had to learn to just kind of relax and let the professionals do their chores. And the results, I think you'll all agree, have been very, very good.